everybody, and welcome back to Nathan Adams Cars. Today we're going to talk about the new Honda Accord, and it's going to include the years 2019 and 2020 because those are available for sale right now at a dealership near you. That won't be true for very long because this is being recorded right before Christmas, the end of the year 2019, and New Year 2020 is coming up, so just keep that in mind. A lot of these things that I'm going to be talking about in this video are going to be based on the time now, but you can check out the links and all the details and the information in the description about the Honda Accord. Just update the dates and those types of things as necessary. Alright, so this video is part of a series, and it's a series of buyer's guides for different cars that I'm doing, where I'm just showing people how they can do their research to have the best possible experience you can have when you go in to buy the car. And that's important because as a former car salesman, the most important thing that I saw my customers do, especially the ones who had the best experience, were the ones who had done their research. Because when you do your research, you can go in with confidence and negotiate the best possible outcome. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the Honda Accord, and I'm going to break up the research into 3 different parts. Number 1, we're going to check out a few different reviews, and we're going to see some of the expert ratings that they give the car, which we can compare to other cars that I've done in this playlist. Number 2, we're going to take a look at some of the deals that are being offered for the vehicle and kind of what you can expect when you go into the dealership. And then number 3, we're going to take a look at the finances. So by the way, I'm doing this series because I feel like I've helped out a lot of people who are close to me, like my family and friends who are buying a car, giving them some advice. I was in the car business for a few years, and I learned a lot about that process, both as a customer and as a salesperson, consultant, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like it's good content that I can create for you guys, and I hope you think so too. If you like it, please subscribe, like it on YouTube, all those types of things. I also do review videos of cars, and I would love to do more, but you need to have a car in order to do that. So if anybody wants me to review their cars, feel free to email me. I have that information in the description below. I live in DC. I live in Northern Virginia in the Washington, DC metro area, so feel free to reach out to me if you want me to review a car of yours or at your dealership. Alright, for segment number 1, we're going to check out the reviews. Now I found this review, which I found to be very useful, and that is the cars.usnews.com review, where they show you every year of this vehicle. Now the first thing I'm going to note about this car, when I did the research for the Accord, I looked at Wikipedia and just kind of saw like the generations and the years and all that to see what got us to this point. This is about buying one new, so that includes 2019 and 2020 because that's what's available now. But if you're buying used, it's good to know as well, to keep that option open, that this vehicle was redesigned in 2018. So the 10th generation starts in 2018. Now if you look at this review, it just says that for 2018 what's new is that it is completely redesigned. They also mentioned some pros and cons about the 10th generation, the 2018. Pros: great gas mileage, poised handling, expansive comfortable cabin, lots of standy safety tech, lots of standard safety tech, outstanding safety rating. So a lot about safety and the handling. That's something we're going to see more about. There is a narrow trunk opening though, so keep that in mind. So for 2019, there was a slight change in the way that they're packaging the models. The 1.5 liter engine is no longer available in the Touring trim. I guess in 2018 you had an option for the Touring trim, the top of the line model. You could either get the 1.5 or the 2.0 4-cylinder. You could get the smaller one or the bigger one. Moving forward from 2019 and on, you can just get the 2.0. The top of the line no longer offers that 1.5 liter option. And for 2020, there are no major changes. So as I mentioned for the review segment, we're going to take a look at 3 reviews which give the vehicle a rating. The first one that's going to give it a rating is Edmunds.com. So let's take a look at that review here. For 2020, they rate this as a #1 midsize sedan, so that's a pretty good indication there of how much they like this vehicle. Edmunds says that both of the engines are powerful and fuel efficient. The interior is cavernous and fitted with upscale materials. Sporty handling makes it fun to drive, so it's practical and fun to drive. It is, however, not as quiet as some of the rival sedans, and the low seating position slightly hampers the entry and exit. It seems like this new Accord is a little more exciting, which is pretty cool because perhaps some people might think of the other Accords as less than fun. So to have a new one which is fun and practical and has pretty much the same attributes that people loved for years and years before but also have the fun element is pretty impressive. So the Edmunds rating is 8.3 out of 10. And I'm going to convert all of these into percentages, so Edmunds gives it 83%. All right, the next review is Car and Driver. Now I'm doing the same reviews for every car that I'm doing in this series, so it's not the most precise to have this 5 out of 5, because each time you go up a number, it's 20%. That's a huge difference, but keeping it apples to apples with every car I do. So Car and Driver gives it a 5 out of 5, otherwise known as 100%. Car and Driver also gives it some highs and lows. For the highs, they say that it is genuinely fun to drive, and that the sport model comes with a 6-speed manual and an intuitive infotainment system. As for lows, they say that the cubby storage is limited, there is a large rear blind spot, and some models exhibit higher than average road noise. So for a car which has been known for being a little boring in the past, this seems to be now suffering from some of the downsides of being a little more sporty. So that's kind of interesting. So the verdict from Car and Driver is that among family sedans, the Honda Accord is number 1. All right, so JD Power is the third review. They give the Honda Accord an 81%. They also break up their rating into 4 different little categories. For the quality and reliability, they give it an 84. For the driving experience, an 83. And for the resale value, an 86. So they got all great numbers there, which is pretty impressive. The dealership experience is 74, so that's interesting. All right, so now when I'm looking at a new car, I want to check out the lineup and kind of see which different trim levels are being offered. When you're looking at a Toyota or any of those companies that are really good at marketing and, you know, preparing their product for sale, like BMW is another good example. They have a lot of different trim options. They have packages in between and things like that. With the Honda, the way it works is that you have different trim levels, and pretty much that's it. You get what you get. You can get some accessories on top of that, but if you go for the LX, you're going to get the most standard one. If you go for the Touring, you're going to get the top of the line. The EX and the EXL are kind of in the middle, and the Sport is kind of unique, though. I like that they do that because it kind of gives you some of the essentials that a younger or sporty kind of driver would care about. So we'll take a look at the lineup. The prices that you're going to see on the Honda website, if you look up the vehicle on the Honda website, are going to be exclusive of that destination charge. They do that because on the commercials they like to advertise certain specials, and it makes it look better without that destination charge. But just keep in mind, sometimes they may be leaving out this $930 charge, which is a part of the price. All right, now for the lineup, I broke it up into 2 different little sections here. Basically, I broke it up by the engine choice. You can go for the 1.5 or the 2.0 4-cylinder. They're both 4-cylinder engines with VTEC and with turbos. One of them is a 1.5 liter and the other one is a 2.0. So one of them is 0.5 liters larger than the other, and that larger engine is basically going to be like the V6 has been in the past. The larger engine choice, the 2.0, has 252 horsepower and 273 foot-pounds of torque. What is nice about the turbo 4-cylinder is that it has really good torque. It has really good torque. Wow. It has really good torque down low in the RPM range because it peaks at around 1500 to 4000 RPM. Now the standard engine choice is the 1.5 liter, which has 192 horsepower and 192 foot-pounds of torque, which is peaking at 1600 to 5000 RPM. Seems like good performance from both engine choices, and it also seems pretty exciting to have a turbo for both options. But at the same time, the reliability is something to consider because there is no naturally aspirated option. They only have turbocharged Accords now, and that's a big deal. Now, as far as the drivetrain is concerned, another thing to consider is the transmission. The standard transmission is a CVT, so for any of the 1.5 liter engines, the lower priced engine choice, you're going to have a standard continuously variable transmission, which doesn't use traditional gears, it doesn't have a dual clutch, it doesn't have any of those types of transmissions. It uses this continuously variable transmission, which is for fuel economy, not as optimized for performance, but they're getting better these days. What's really nice though is that in the Sport model you do get the option for a 6-speed manual transmission, and that's whether you get the 1.5 or the 2.0 turbocharged 4-cylinders. Now if you go for the larger engine choice, the 2.0, it only gives you the option of a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual if you go for that Sport model. The 10-speed auto is developed by Honda, and it seems like it's a sportier transmission, a better performance for that more powerful engine, so that's something to keep in mind. I haven't driven it yet, so definitely I would recommend you go out and drive it, but I did used to own a TLX, and the thing about the TLX was when it first came out, it had some pretty big shoes to fill, right? Because it was replacing the TL, the larger sedan, and the TSX, the smaller sedan, into one. So, you know, they gave you both engine choices, kind of like how the Accord does. You can get a 4-cylinder, or you can get a V6 TLX. With the 4-cylinder, you had a Honda-developed 8-speed dual clutch with a torque converter. It was really interesting, and I liked the way it performed. I had that car for 70,000 miles, and it did very well for me. I actually have a video about that. You can check it out in the link. If I can put it up here, I will. If not, it'll be in the description. Check out that video of the dual clutch in the TLX. The Honda-developed transmission was really nice. Now, if you went for the V6 TLX, it had a ZF transmission, a German transmission that they outsourced. I think just for production reasons, they didn't have time to develop or money to develop their own transmission. So the V6 TLXs, they didn't have as good reviews when it came to the transmissions. So it is nice to see that Honda's making their own 10-speed automatic, and I think it would be a good one. There's a great example of a 10-speed that Ford and Chevy made. I have some videos about that too, with the Lincoln Navigator and the Chevy Camaro ZL1 that I did a review. One Ford product, one Chevy product, both using a 10-speed, and it was fantastic. So let's see, if you drive it, let me know what you think. That 10-speed could be very good. On the other hand, I think like the Camry, for example, the new Camry, it has an 8-speed transmission. So, you know, these transmissions are, these days, I think they're pretty good. They have a lot of gears, they're a little more complicated. So as far as the reliability goes, we're not gonna know for several years how they really turn out. But it looks like the Accord has a very sporty drivetrain. Now, on this trim sheet that I'm showing you, it has all the destination charges included on all of the MSRPs. So on the bottom, you can see the LX starts at $24,800. The Accord starts for that price, $24,800. The LX includes a lot of standard features, and then each trim above that kind of adds on to it. With the standard Accord, you do get dual zone climate control, you get a 7-inch touchscreen, 4-speaker audio system, LED low beam headlights. I don't think, it's not the full LED headlights. You get the full LED headlights in the Touring model, so I'm not sure what the high beams are, if they're HIDs or what they are. You also get the standard safety suite of features like lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, all those types of things with emergency braking. So very nice standard features with the LX. If you want to get the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you're going to have to go up to either the Sport or the EX model. The Sport gives you the option of a 6-speed manual, which is nice, and it has the larger wheels and it just looks nicer. So the Sport is a good option for that if you just kind of want like the smartphone interface and a nicer looking car or a manual transmission. The Sport is a good option for you, but probably I would say the most popular option is going to be the EX, because it gives you heated front seats, a sunroof, the smart key, blind spot sensors, and a lot of things like that. Probably the EX is the best one to go for if you ask me, unless, like I said, you really want that 6-speed manual. And then the EXL just kind of gives you some nicer leather and things like that, nicer sound system, those types of things there. You can go up to the larger engine choice as well, as you can see, and then the top of the line trim is the Touring, which is going to have all the bells and whistles you can possibly imagine. So in the review section, what we found is that the 10th generation Accord, starting in 2018, is fun to drive. It has great utility, resale value, a lot of great attributes like that, and it's fun to drive. So it's a really good combination, best of both worlds. All right, now we're moving on to the deals section. So for the deals, what I like to point out first is that there is a difference between incentives being offered by the manufacturer and from the dealership. The manufacturer advertises their commercials are listed nationwide on TVs and social media platforms throughout the nation. So they're very general, they don't include taxes and things like that. The dealership near you, they might take advantage of some of those offers and kind of leverage them however they see fit for each dealership. So just kind of know what the offers are so that when you go in to negotiate, you are properly prepared. A great way to do this is to go to Edmunds.com. They have incentives for pretty much every car. Every car that I've looked at, they have them. And I have the links in the description for that, so you can check it out. You can also go to Honda's incentive page, because that's where they're going to show you the incentives for each car as well. That's from the manufacturer, remember. Now, what did I find for incentives on the 2019 and the 2020 Honda Accord? Not much. So, you know, I also like to check out the local dealership website to see what kind of inventory they have in stock, because it's important to know what's actually available, because you can't use incentives on a car that's not available. if there's only two 2019s left, you might not get the one that you really want, and it'd be pointless. So you'd have to go for the 2020. So just check that out and see. Now, there aren't very many incentives available, but there are a lot of 2019s available, and it's about to be the end of the year. What I know about dealerships is they don't want to have a lot of 2019s going into 2020, so they're going to just try to move out all of those units. Because there's not really any incentives on the car other than the traditional military and college grad, bonus cash, whatever, you're going to have to take advantage of the fact that they might have a lot of the one color or a lot of one trim level and kind of go for that. It's all about supply and demand. There might be something called dealer cash. For each car, they might get an extra $500 to help them lower the price. So that's just something we're not going to be able to see, unfortunately. They're not going to list that publicly. But it's just good to know that if they have a lot of inventory in stock, they're going to be willing to give you deals. And let's check out some of the deals that you can get. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 3 different sites, kind of see what kind of deals do they offer. What I've been doing is looking at all these sites and looking at the lowest end of the pricing range and just comparing all 3 of those prices and averaging them up. So the first one's going to be Kelley Blue Book. For this car in my area, again, the links are in the description. You have to check out your car with the trim level and the features that you care about. But in this case, the Kelley Blue Book website gives you a price range from $20,200 to $22,000. So that depends on the colors. Like I said, if they have like 15 of one trim level with the same color and everything, they're going to give you more of a deal. If it's a demo car with miles or something like that, that they can still sell as a new car, they're going to give you that like lowest end of the range deal. So don't rely on that, but it is good to know. So Kelley Blue Book, for their deal, they're saying $20,200 as the estimate. Now the next one is going to be Edmunds.com. They have a true market range, and at the bottom of their range it says $21,184 from Edmunds. Edmunds is cool because, like I said, they can show you the incentives. They'll typically include, if there's any customer cashback or rebates or anything like that, they're going to include them in this price, and there is nothing on the Accord. So let's move on to TrueCar. TrueCar estimates $21,040. Now all of these numbers are just based on, I think, just transactional data from what they see, all of these sources. So what's good about this is that you're going to get an average of all 3 of the sources and just kind of see like what's a reasonable deal, what's a great deal actually. And you can use that as a basis for your research. It doesn't mean you go in and say, hey, I can get this, because TrueCar doesn't sell you a car, neither does Edmunds or Kelley Blue Book. The dealership is selling you a car, and the deal you get is going to depend on what's available and what you qualify for and all these types of variables like that. So use this as a basis, but it is a good basis to go in with, and it definitely does a lot better than just going in and demanding they give you a discount for no reason. So the average best deal that I found from all these sites is $20,808. Now this is based on an Accord LX with an MSRP of $24,650, so nearly $4,000 off is pretty significant because typically the dealers, they don't have that much markup. So it leads me to believe that they have some more room there at the end of the year to help move out these cars. All right, so here's a new thing I want to do. Let's take a look at building the car. I'm going to build it by myself on the website and kind of see like what trim level I would select. The reason I'm doing this is because I want you guys to get involved in the comments below. Tell me which Accord you would pick or which one you bought if you already did. All right, so let's get started, and I'm going to start recording my screen now. All right, going in, selecting the car. It's going to be an Accord 2020. It could be a 2019. I don't care. I think they are the same anyway. All right, let's choose the Accord sedan for us. Not really interested in the hybrid. You know what? The 1.5 is nice. I would really have to drive it, to be honest with you. Like, it's cool to look at this. 1.5 is no longer an option on the Touring, so I'm not sure why they're showing that, from what I saw anyway. But they're listing it here. Am I looking at 2019? I don't know. Anyway, probably for the price range, I would probably go for the Sport. What I like about it is that you can get the manual transmission in the Sport model, and it has a turbo, so it's still fun, even though it's not, it's probably better than the naturally aspirated 2.4. I did have an Accord with the 2.4, and I really loved how that engine performed, the 4-cylinder. I liked it a lot, so, I think the lower engine choice would be good enough, honestly. So let's go for that one, build it. Sure, go ahead, take all my information, locations, whatever. I would go for the 6-speed manual. That's the only reason I would get the Sport, really. I would go for the EX otherwise. 6-speed manual, yes. 2.0 engine? Nah, I'm good. What color would I pick? I'm gonna go for black, crystal black pearl. That's what I'll go for. Interior, black cloth, or black cloth LX. Just go ahead and stick with the black cloth, I guess. Same thing, okay. Premium feature, Honda sensing is included. Packages, no thanks, I'm fine. Wheels. So it's interesting with these packages and wheel options. These are actually aftermarket. They're not aftermarket, they're from Honda, but they're not installed from the factory, you know? You have to get them done at the dealership, so I don't really like that option. It's not like a custom order where it's done at the factory, like some of the cars, you know? So I would really not opt for that. I don't think Honda is just, I just wouldn't do that, honestly. That's it. I would get a black 6-speed 1.5 liter turbo. I would drive it first to make sure, but it's in the price range. It has a lot of fantastic features. That is what I would pick, coming out to $27,460. So tell me in the comment section below what you would pick. Obviously, if money was no object, everybody would pick the best car, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right, now we're moving on to the finances section. And in this section, we're gonna talk about how you can finance this vehicle. Now, the thing is, it doesn't really make sense. What I've realized in doing these videos, it really makes no sense for me to tell you what the payment's gonna be, because I have no way of knowing. Do you have a trade-in? How much are your taxes in your state? You know, those types of things. I don't really know any of that stuff, and it's gonna be, there's way too many variables for me to even give you a range. And by the time I give you a range that could be somewhat accurate, it's gonna be pointless, because it's gonna be like a $300 difference. It could be $400, it could be $600, who knows? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. But the financing section is very important, because what I find, some people when they come into the dealership, they don't really know what they want to do when they buy the car, you know? And I think a 60-month loan is probably the best choice. If you can go for 48, I would recommend it. A shorter term is better. Payments are going to be higher, but the interest you're going to pay over time is going to be less, and you're going to pay off the car a lot faster. So you're going to reduce the risk of taking on a loan. That's one thing I would keep in mind. Also, just take a look at the auto loan calculators. They have them on the internet. Doesn't really matter which one you use, to be honest. Google has one. You can use that, or go to the link in the description below. But now, if you look at the one that I was selecting there, I think it was 27,000 something, right? Let's say I got a deal or whatever, and I was financing, let's just say I was financing $27,000, okay? For 60 months, yeah, 60 months. They have a special up to 60 months for 2.9%. So payment would be like $484, you know? That's just an example, and I can show you the screenshot on the screen. So, you know, less than $500. I don't know, again, like how much the taxes are going to be, all those types of things, but definitely check out that link in the description and you can see that. Also, that same website, bankrate.com, they have an option to select if you pay off an extra amount over your payment, because that's going to go directly to pay off the principal balance on the loan and save you on interest for any additional payments you make. And it'll also tell you how soon the car will be paid off. Let's say if you pay an extra $25 a month. Now, another thing to consider is leasing. Honda's advertising a leasing special which expires in January 6, 2020. These leasing specials I find to be absolutely pointless, except to get your attention, because they say you can lease this car for $249 a month. All you need to do is have $2,099 at signing, and this is pretty much applicable throughout the nation. I think they can advertise this on the commercials nationwide. But it excludes the dealership fees and the taxes and registration fees and all that stuff. Also, it is on the most basic lease you can possibly do, I think. It's based on 12,000 miles a year, so if you drive more than that, you're going to have to prepay for those miles, or you can pay after. Either way. It's cheaper to pay before, though. If you prepay, roll the miles in up front, it's cheaper. And it's also based on the most basic vehicle, the LX, so who knows what the lease is going to be on a Sport or something like that. So if we're just looking at this lease option, for 36 months, only 12,000 miles a year, it's $249 a month, but you have to add in the taxes and fees. Now in Virginia, the taxes are about 4%, and we're not like a state like New York where you only get taxed on the payments. In Virginia, if you lease, you get taxed on the whole amount of the car. Don't ask me why. I think, though, at the end, if you buy the car out, you don't have to pay taxes again. So I'm not sure why. They just consider it the same as a loan in Virginia. So in Virginia, the taxes on a car like this are going to be about $1,000 bucks. You're going to add in the dealership fees, the registration fees. It's going to be about $2,000 plus you're going to pay the $2,099 that they say in the lease special. So yeah, if you have $4,000 to put down on the lease, your payment could be $249. That's not including any dealership deals. So maybe they give you the $4,000 and that's great. But just keep in mind that that deal does not include taxes and fees. So it's good just to know about the financing options when you purchase a car. Of course, paying cash, you don't have to pay interest, but perhaps you could use that cash to accrue interest some other way. So I'm not a financial expert. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to say that you can do your research. I have all the information for you below in the description. So please check that out. So that concludes the research of the new Honda Accord. What I would say is that it's really impressive that this car is such a good handling car. It gets a lot of good reviews. It's rated the best, family sedan out there. And meanwhile, it still has really good resale value and a lot of things like that. It's very practical, good fuel economy. So it seems like the best of both worlds between a reasonable car and a fun car. So that's pretty exciting. I would honestly go for this car, but it seems like Toyota, they're doing more incentives and things like that, just more clever marketing. And that's pretty typical. This car, they're just letting the engineering speak for itself. It's more of a, if I could even call it that, more of a driver's car than the Toyota Camry, but they both offer great resale value and things like that. The Toyota Camry offers a non-turbocharged option, so perhaps it's going to be more reliable. That's something to consider. But if it were me, I say I probably agree with the experts who all seem to love the Honda Accord. I think that's for a good reason. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please subscribe and like the video, and feel free to comment too what you think about the Honda Accord, and I'll see you next time.